Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Roundup. We've got a bit of a slightly. Oh, if you follow my Instagram, Rock and Roll Spot 81, you may have seen in my. And if you don't follow, go ahead and follow it. You may have seen in my post with the about my comics haul for this week that the pictures will not be. Well, this week not be basically showing not all the books in the pictures will be in this week's roundup. Um, that is because things have been a little sporadic with the Star Wars books for me lately. Not by my intention, just a small flub on my part, and I'm planning on getting caught up. I really started to notice that mistake with last week's issue of Darth Vader, so I'm going to be trying to get caught back up, fill in some of the gaps that have appeared in the last few months, and then once those gaps are filled in, then we'll kind of go up, cover everything, cover all those plus the ones from this week, and any that pop up between now and when I get everything filled in. Anyway, kicking things off, we've got Gambit number one. So this is set shortly after Gambit's first appearance in Uncanny X-Men number 266. Storm had been de-aged by Nanny and Orphan Maker and was had run into Gambit in New Orleans, who had saved her, and I think it was New Orleans at least. But they ran together for a while before Storm was aged back up to her to how well she's supposed to be, and she rejoined the X-Men and Gambit joined the X-Men. So we start off in Chicago. Gambit and Storm are basically being a bit of a thief duo. A lot of what's going on is Gambit trying to figure out what all Storm can do, but she brings up the fact that she's on the run from the Shadow King, and apparently the Shadow King is there in. Well, I guess they're actually in St. Louis now, not Chicago. Not that's right. They're not in Chicago. No, they're not. They're in Cairo, Illinois. My bad. But the Shadow King meets with Moira McTaggart and manages to. It sets up the Muir Island saga from Uncanny X-Men and I think also X Factor. The Muir Island saga was a story that happened shortly before the early '90s relaunch of the X-Men line, and it brought the original five. It truly brought the original five back with the rest of the X-Men. But they run afoul of a group of young warriors in training under under Sabine, an old associate of Remy's. One of Sabine's students, however, wishes an honored fight against Storm. Storm does manage to win, and Storm also manages to basically throw a pie in the Shadow King's face, or well. and they continue on. They continue on their travels. Um, in space, a bounty hunter is about a intergalactic bounty hunter is hired to go after Lila Cheney. It's hard to find Cheney, but generally you snag one of her associates. It's a good chance she'll pop up. Well, apparently Gambit is an associate, and so therefore she's going to go after Gambit to use him as bait. Interesting start to things. I like the little. I had to admit to being surprised that there wasn't a reference to future events of for comic events with Moira, namely House of X and Power, the Krakoan Age, so to speak. But I did like the little setup, kind of seeing how it was that Moira came under Shadow King's thrall. But yeah, fun stuff. Nice little thing to put out just after Gambit's recent death in Knights of X. Moving on though to our next book, we've got Wolverine Patch number 4. Where we left off, the Madripoor hill people were being attacked by various forces, generally for having the sheer audacity to harbor Russian mutants Beth, Gimel, and Aleph, as well as Wolverine. Wolverine does what he can to at least buy the Madripoor some time to escape, cutting through Yakuza as well as Russians and General Koi's men and the Prince's men. Eventually, of course, they're being washed by shield drones. Tiger and Archie Cunningham managed to escape shield custody, as Nick Fury intended. General Koi, the Prince, and the KGB have joined forces. So Wolverine decides to turn the three groups against one another. And then the Mandroids arrive, blasting the place up. Beth and Gimel take one down, and Wolverine slices open the armor, allowing Aleph to basically, in an effort to nullify the side damners. When Fury arrives, listening after Logan, Beth, Gimel, and Aleph have escaped, one of the Mandroids explains that there appeared to be a fourth Russian mutant in the group. Fury asks if the fourth mutant is the one who sliced open the Mandroid armor and also left multiple claw marks on one of the trees, and when that's confirmed, he says, yeah, that was no Russian. And that is where the issue ends. It's definitely going to be this is definitely an interesting series. It's sad that it's only a miniseries, but because I'm really digging it, and yeah. But anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Something Is Killing the Children, number 25. Where we left off, Erica was trying to get information in the hopes of contacting the young girl who had survived a monster attack in Tribulation, New Mexico. Meanwhile, a hunter from another house had been summoned to, hunt down Erica. her ride explained that that there are no more black masks in the House of Slaughter. Not since Aaron died and Erica ran away. Apparently, the other hunter's driver keeps Aaron's mask in their pocket. But young girl is Gabby, the young survivor, has found Erica's totem, and totem is trying to convince her to go after the creature. Say that they can find it. They can take her to it. So they decide to go. Gabby calls Ricky, and while her and Eric are talking, explain what she's wanting. She's going out talking to stuffed octopus, and Erica tries to warn her off, but Gabby hangs up the phone, and they get to and she catches the monster in the act of eating more people. It sees Gabby and goes after her. But before it can get to Gabby, Erica shows up, and Erica ends up getting wounded, taking the advice of Big Gary, but apparently said advice didn't work, and so in the car she calls Big Gary. However, Cutter, the hunter brought in to go after her, is at Big Gary's, and has apparently tortured him. And basically she's going to kill Big Gary for betraying the order, and then come after her. And so, but Erica gets to say goodbye to Gary before he's killed. He suggests that Erica drop whatever she's doing and get as far away from tribulation as possible. And Cutter kills Gary. And that is what Erica's reaction to that is where the issue ends. This is a book that started off real strong. It did. I do, to a degree, feel like the second arc was a little. I don't want to say slow. It kind of, but it was started off strong. It kind of slipped. I hate saying that. It was still good, but yeah. I guess the second arc just wasn't as strong, and then the third, this current arc has brought it back up on par with the first arc. So, yeah, good stuff. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got House of Slaughter, number 7. And yes, this is a body bag variant, done in a similar manner to the how the Hidden Spark variants from Magic the Gathering sometimes done. There's the actual cover. Personally, I actually kind of prefer that. Where we left off, Edwin was tracking a monster who appeared to be going after a summer camp, or hunting near one at least. He tried to get information from some of the campers and or counselors, but with no luck. So he's on a boat in the lake and waiting till nightfall in the hopes of one of the troublemakers slips out and getting some information from one of them. All the while he's talking to his totem. He's painting a landscape. And he tells the totem a story about a widow woman whose husband and children drowned. She barely survived. But the boat has drifted further away from the shore than will allow for Edwin to make it back by nightfall. He and his totem have some disagreements to whether or not they're lost, and he gives the totem an example using an ant. And he figures what's out there in the woods is a monster. While he sleeps, it appears that his totem takes the form of a fly and seemingly burrows into his ear. And that is where the issue ends. Interesting. I am definitely enjoying the concept of House of Slaughter as being not so much an anthology, but kind of just telling other tales from within the House of Slaughter. Learning more on Aaron, for example, in the first arc was very nice. Moving on now to our last book for the moment, we've got Deathstroke Inc., number 11, continuing the Deathstroke Year 1 story. Where we left off, Slade Wilson, freshly discharged from the military after being the only survivor of a medical experiment, was hired to go after one of the doctors involved, who was about to turn over information to Congress, and yeah. So he's apparently told his wife Adeline and his son Grant he's going on a hunting trip. Grant's not happy about it, but Slade tells him he's the man of the house while Slade's gone. So no more tears. Be strong. Because of course that's the kind of dad that Slade Wilson would be. But so Slade and his friend are heading to Seattle with all the information they've got. The drugstore. Adeline is eyeing a pregnancy test while Grant grabs a couple candy bars, one for him and one for her. Wintergreen has of course been brought in, but he's got a suit to help Slade in the field, made of promethium. It's the early version of the classic Deathstroke suit. Seems to work great. In Seattle, Slade scouts the objective, and then he explains that he wants to make sure that the doctor knows that Slade who took him down. The attack seems to go well, with Slade plowing through the federal agents guarding the professor, and however, while giving chase, he's stopped by none other than Green Arrow. It's an interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about kind of having the enmity between Slade and Green Arrow go back that far. I was kind of accepting of the idea that okay, after after Slade's fight against the Justice League, kind of, well, I'm loath to say B Squad, but B Team, but kind of was for the time. After Slade's fight with the Justice League lineup in Identity Crisis number 3, I believe. Yeah, him and Green Arrow became not just they developed an enmity, and it was more than just Slade fights the Titans, Green Arrow's an ally of the Titans. It was Slade going after Ollie. So, but it does make for some interesting stories, and I think it was especially well handled in Arrow, especially the first few seasons. But anyway, that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.